purple light in the canyon. That's where I long to be with my three good companions. Just my rifle, pony, and me. Gonna hang my sombrero on a limb of a tree. Coming home, sweetheart darling, just my rifle, pony, and me. Just my rifle, my pony, and me. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the RangerRob Country Living Podcast. And I have Dale Wiley with me today. He didn't bail on me.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to roll. Let's go.
And we may have some guests drop in the middle of the show, and we can handle it because we're conservatives, right?
That's right. Change is okay. Change needs to happen.
That's right. We like change. So I want to remind you that the RangerRob Country Living Podcast originates off of Spreaker. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, a whole bunch of other things. You can even play us on your on Echo. I got to be careful not to say the word.
There you go.
My Echo will start talking. So anyway, several ways. Go down in the description below. You will find links to all the different places where you can find our videos and goodies like that. So how are you today, Dale?
I'm doing well, Rob. How are you?
Not too shabby. Been busy. Good. Super busy.
Yeah, well, I think we all are. Got a lot of irons in the fire this time of the year if you're trying to keep your head above water and, food in your pantry and everything else.
Yeah, I do have some good news. I was at Home Depot and the price of lumber, 2x4s, is down to $4.80 as opposed to almost $9. So it has dropped.
Yeah. Well, it's a commodity. It's going to do that, but you just got to buy it on the downside.
Yeah, I guess so. So I'm going to probably load up on 2x4s again because we, the videos are behind, but we actually got one of our pig houses built. And so,
nice.
So it had to tap into my lumber. So it's like, okay, I'm down to like 2 boards. So I like to keep like 10 2x4s around all the time. So I think I'll fill up the truck this weekend at Home Depot and grab at least. I don't really like their wood that well, but
Yeah, it is what it is.
So we're still having one of those weeks here in Central Oregon.
Yes, we are.
We're trying to realize, is it actually spring or is it winter or is it raining or we're going to get hail today or get hail?
Fighting the winds, we got these Central Oregon high desert winds that blow through here pretty steady. And I don't, my little greenhouse, one's fine. The one the tube isn't. It's kind of a hillbilly setup anyway. And every now and then that green plastic will get the trying to regulate the heat and everything else like that. I just post transplant, that week after you transplant stuff is always a tough week. So I think we got through that one. So we'll see what happens now.
Yep. So today's subject, I got to remind, and we get sidetracked all the time, so it's our prerogative. So it's named "We the People," and what I want to talk about, and it could be on a federal level, a city level, a state level, associations, HOAs, any of that stuff. And so, and I kind of get stimulated by this because of this conversation. I think it was on Blaze or something, but where they mentioned that. What's happened in our, United States, our country, is, we have a constitution and our government was designed back then to protect us, to make sure that we don't lose our rights from the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So their job was to protect us for our freedoms. And somehow we've lost all that. Well, it also bleeds into all of our other thing, whether it's local or whether it's a city, whether it's an organization, where it seems like everybody has, and our leadership always seems to have their own agenda. and so what I wanted to say is what I want to bring up, and I'll hand this over to Dale in a second, is when's the last time any leadership, whether it's federal level or down to association level or your city organization, ask the question, what's on your mind? What's concerning you, say Dale, or concerning me? What's on our mind? Is it whether we have racism taught in our schools at 1 year old, 5 years old, or is it maybe inflation, or maybe it's gas prices and shortages and housing and currency and so many other things. When's the last time we've really been asked? And I think even when we're talking about schools a little bit, I don't even think the schools are even asking anymore. They have totally their own agenda, and because they're not asking the questions like with the parents. It's like, what do you want us to teach your kids? And most of us will say, would you please teach them how to read? Would you please teach them how to spell? Please teach them how to do math and science, and teach them our U.S. history. Can you do that? Is it that hard? But they don't even ask. So that's kind of the general concept of this show today is, in fact, if you had a chance to either tell your local HOA or your local city or whatever, Dale, what is some of the concerns you have today, Dale? I'm asking.
Well, we could go on. I guess one of the biggest concerns I have is that I think that at this time in history, our federal government is probably one of the most unstable institutions in the world that is not being run by our elected politicians. It's being run by a bunch of men behind the curtain somewhere that are pulling strings, manipulating the stock market. I could go on and on and on here. These politicians, this is a one-way street. They're not going to ask. They don't know how to ask, and they don't have to ask, and they won't ask any of us what. We're going to have to tell them what we think and how we want this country ran. And then you got to come down to a level where you and I can have some effect, like on our local community or our HOA or city council, county commissions or whatever like that. And that in itself, kind of becomes a problem a little bit because some of them don't want to communicate with you. And I don't understand this because, when you have a representative government, we've elected those people and everything else, and I expect some kind of a communication stream, with these people so they understand what's going on. They could do it by email. They could text you. There's any number of things they could do. They could do it on social media. That's an extremely easy way to do it and everything. But some of them just don't. I saw some signs going down the road and I thought, oh yeah, that's the dude that I emailed like 3 times and asked him on Facebook and Twitter a question. And it's just like, no, didn't even come in there. Didn't even reply to me. So those are the concerns I have. And and you mentioned public schools. I used to be a big public school guy. I was on budget committees. I was on commissions and task force and everything else like that. And I was a big supporter. I don't support public schools anymore. It's just not a good thing that's going on. And they don't give a damn what I think, so the only thing you got to do is be able to come in at a local level and influence this as big as you can. And, and I'm going to have to tell people right now, these are not nice exchanges that you have to have, with these politicians and everything. You have to be respectful as good human beings should be, but you've got to ask some pointed questions. Let's cut through the bullshit and get to the real issue here, type of thing. Like I said, that lack of that communication and people willing to engage in, different mind games or some kind of online flame wars. I'm good at that stuff. If they really want to get to it, we can get it on there a little bit. But they just, there's just communication is not happening. And so my feeling on this lately is basically, if we want to see change, there are going to have to be outside influences or circumstances and situations that basically have a catastrophic destruction of whatever governing function that we've got going on. Otherwise, we're just, we're going to keep going down the same road that we're on right now.
Yeah. So what's your opinion on, do you feel like the current's changing a little bit for between woke and awake? Are you between this Twitter stuff going on and a few other things, kind of court decisions going against some of these crazy ideas of schools and abortions and all this stuff? Are you starting to feel like maybe the current's changing a little bit?
I do in some aspects. And my basic opinion on this thing is that there's 30% of people in American society that actually give a damn about what's going on, what's happening with our government and everything else like that. The other 70%, I mean, as long as the Amazon deliveries are getting through, Starbucks is open and the cable TV comes on, life's great. We're fine. Nothing could possibly be wrong here. So you got, unfortunately, you've got this small minority of people that understand what's going on, and they understand that the media, and here we are. I don't know if I should have said that word, but I did.
It's all right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Type of thing that,
if it's not, we'll find out, huh?
Yeah, we'll know that one pretty quick. Like that, the media are nothing but theatrical playwriters creating these situations and everything else, and and people say, well, I heard it on here and I heard it on there. Well, whatever. That's somebody else's opinion. They're filtering it, slanting it a certain way for you to intake and process, and that's their view. You look at other stuff. Well, no, I just watch this one. You watch. Oh, the TV. That's even worse. Type of thing. And so, what I think you're seeing is that there's a lot of people, even though it's a small percentage of society, that are basically tired of this crap and realize that our government is just headed down this road of eventual collapse. I mean, I don't know how I could put it any farther, unless something happens or it takes lots of radical changes to happen in a society to affect the kind of changes that we're talking about. They don't happen overnight. It takes a long time and everything. And so, yeah, I think it's starting to turn. Is it turning in large enough numbers to have an effectual impact on something? I don't think so. And that would kind of circle back to our whole prepping way of lifestyle and everything else that we can't, we'll try and input on this. We'll try and do what we can to affect it. But when it comes down to it, you and I are just a couple of old guys out here on the high desert and everything, and just trying, just kind of trying to be a little bit independent and self-sufficient and look out for ourselves and some other people. And when government people start interfering with that process, and we got some major problems, and that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. So speaking of just a little bit of our prepping and stuff, this week, have you, well, in the last 2 weeks, since you didn't make it to the show last week, tweak. What kind of, have you done anything new towards self-sufficiency or anything like that? And by the way, I want to welcome Heinz to the show.
Yeah. Hi, Heinz. Yeah, I mean, it's, basically this last week was our post-transplant week for our greenhouse crops, about 3,000 seedlings out there. And so we've got those in the tube.
3,000? Yeah, we got, did you say 3,000?
Yeah, we got about 3,000 probably. I got out in the tube, and then I've got another 2,000 probably to go, rotate in and out on the schedule and everything. So transplant week with some low temperatures. What the hell was I thinking? Type of a thing. I mean, it just, and so, I mean, I'm out here and I'm pouring the propane to everything, and doing it. And it's, and I'm just like, and I farmed this people. I did this same kind of stuff over in the valley. And that's why they grow that stuff in the valley and put it in trucks and bring it over here to the high desert, because you can't do it effectively here in the high desert on any kind of economy of scale. Smaller operations like Rob's doing with his hydroponics and my greenhouse operations and everything, yeah, you can. So we've kind of been tied up with that. We're kind of just in a maintenance mode right now. We'll be at the farmers market in a week with a bunch of the crop and everything, and hopefully we'll sell it. We'll move some more out, type of thing. Got our rotation going. And this is extra cash for us, but people also have an excellent opportunity to come down here and get their garden pretty well outfitted and ready to go with basics and everything else like that. So that's kind of where we've been in the prep world, and spending a little more time from that, still getting in and digesting my usual sources of information and research that I do, and staying up on that, and what's amazing is I can't believe how fast shit changes. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you just follow something, and you try to research a little bit, then it just goes all topsy turvy, crazy, and everything else like that. And so, which there again, let's circle back around to why we're preppers and homesteaders and everything else, in that process, because it just when you think it can't get any crazier, it's gonna get crazier. You
Yeah, I
know.
think for us, I think I'm kind of changing gears a little bit from prepping by going out and getting supplies. Like I've topped off like condoms and things like that that I don't make on Homestead. And
Yep.
now it's like I'm building up the amount of food we're going to kick out of this place. And so we're gearing up for canning, we're gearing up for freeze drying, and we're going to start really putting the food away that we grew ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we're talking about food capacity to be amazing, well beyond what I'm buying at Costco once a week for extras and stuff. Once the peas start coming, I'm going to get tons of peas, and that means I got to freeze dry them or can them. So we
Yeah.
built up our jars a little bit more. We always buy a little bit more jar. We never go and buy large quantities of stuff so other people can't buy it. We don't do that. We've always bought in like jars, one case at a time. But
Yeah.
we've been doing it since last summer. So we got tons, tons of
Yeah.
stuff. We didn't hurt anybody. We didn't hurt the store inventory or anything. So remember that, guys. Um, so yeah, I think the mindset over here is, yeah, I'm going to make sure we did buy more flour. We stored it and jarred it and canned it basically. We bought more sugar, things that they're starting to talk about. So because of what they're saying out of Ukraine and Russia, etc. The wheat supply will affect us maybe in 2 months, 3 months, and we'll start seeing the results of that. If it doesn't happen, I'm not hurt, but I'm going to have
No,
a lot of stuff on hand.
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, so it's but the problem is, and that's the problem with doing shows like this, is we're telling people, please go out and buy a couple of extra bags of flour. Please get a little bit more sugar, build up a little bit of cereal, make sure you have oatmeal and stuff like that, because right now you can get it, and
Hmm.
the reports are saying it's going to look a lot different in 3 months, really different. And I know that's so hard to comprehend because you can go to the store right now and it's right there, right there. Oatmeal's right there,
Yeah.
whatever. And so, how do you convince these people that tend to only react when they actually are affected? And then by then it's too late. It's like, oh my gosh, we are out of flour. They go to the store, there is no flour. It's gone. And it's like, what have we been trying to tell you guys for months and months and months? Just build it up. And
Well.
the news is telling you kind of where to
Yep.
focus. You don't need to go out and buy a whole bunch of oranges right now. They're not talking about oranges. They're talking about wheat. So what things that are wheat that you like right now, in case they're not available, like cereals or anything like that, or flours and things that breads and things like that that you like to buy. Um, what are you going to miss if you can't get it? So do something about it now before it gets to that point, and hopefully we'll recover the following year on wheat or whatever, and we'll have a comeback. But we
Mm.
don't know. But you have,
It's
you're getting heads up. We're getting the heads up of things that we need to look out for, and so we should like rubber and all kinds of. I mean, I'm kind of blanking some of them right now, but there's a lot of things that could not be available or really really rare when summer comes. And what are you going to do? And so, do you use a little faith and say maybe Robin and Dale know what they're talking about? Maybe the news is kind of hinting where we should go. Maybe you got to go to the store and build up things a little bit. It's not that hard. So anyway, that's my bitch.
well, and I mean, you threw out a couple of very salient points there. I mean, you mentioned the oats, and the oatmeal and the wheat products, and people need to bear in mind that the products that are on the shelf now are still 2021 products. This is not 2022 crop at all. The 2022 crop hasn't even been harvested yet. What there is of it and all the various different impacts. That being a fairly fragmented industry as far as reporting uh, information and everything like that. We don't go to Ben Jack because it's a liberal hole down there, and So if they want to, if there's something they could open here or go online with, yeah, but I only set foot in that town if I'm dying in a hospital.
Yeah,
Eh,
that's because
eh,
that's the only good hospital we got is there.
well, that's the only system in the entire state, so I mean, nobody's going to invest 500 million to put another
Yeah,
system
I
in. And
think you're probably like me if you do like Costco and something. We do have to go to Bend for that kind of stuff. So we have
yeah,
Costco's here, Jack, and we have we don't have Sam's, do we?
no, Sam's is Walmart basically. That's
Yeah, we have
that's
a
Sam's
Walmart
Club.
in both our
Yeah.
well near our town in Redmond, and we have one in Bend. But that's just about as heavy duty as we get for kind of unique stores. We do get a grocery outlet. Um, that's about it. Nothing really fancy for these warehouse kind of stores or anything.
No, you don't
But yeah,
need to. And and so and then basically kind of back there, Jack threw me down that rabbit hole and I had to pop back out. And everything is that you're going to see this now. What do we know about the 2022 harvest? We don't know a hell of a lot right now.
not
We're
really.
not going to know a lot until those trucks start crossing scales and wheat and products start being sold and exchanged to understand, um, what it is. Okay, I don't go to restaurants anymore, Jack, because they cost like $15 a meal, and I'm not going to do that. So anyway, you get these, your grains. We haven't seen that. So when that new crop comes in, that's going to have a new, very highly inflated basis anyway. So
Yeah,
if you think things are priced high right now, just like you said a few minutes ago there, Rob, I mean, you just wait 2 or 3 months. I mean, we would expect the wheat harvest will probably start early July up north in some of the spots down south as they move through. So the wheat harvest will, and that'll take 6 weeks, something like that, to move through the whole country in varying different phases and everything. So we'll know a whole lot more, about that time. So everybody's still got a couple of months to have their heads stuck in the sand on this thing. And then all of a sudden things will start getting really crazy and really expensive, on the food side of things. I mean, everything that I've seen, I haven't really talked to any of my food producer friends. I've talked to a couple, the greenhouse guys that I go back and forth with the stuff that we're doing now. I don't know how you guys are doing it. I mean, your costs are higher than mine, and I don't like where mine are at on this thing, and so it's kind of, if anybody was going to experiment with some, hydroponics or backyard container gardening or something like this is definitely going to be the year. You're not going to save yourself huge tons of money. Okay. If you want to do that, then come see me. I'll sell you a bunch of seedlings. You can plant rows of it. You can fertilize it and go into the production side of it. And then you got to go into the processing side, which you talked about, canning, freezing, and all this and that. So a couple of different things. Learn how to allocate your time to that. Don't spend so much time doing that you neglect something else. But make sure you cover it within the best of your ability and your financial depth that you can. And when you do that and you plan that out, it becomes a lot easier than trying just to throw this stuff all up. People say, "Oh, we're going to be self-sufficient on a quarter acre." I go, like, "No, you're not. You're not even doing it on 5 acres. I've owned property. I've farmed. I know what it is." And so you got to look at that and do what you can within your own capacity and your sphere of influence or bandwidth or whatever you want to call it and everything. But make sure you allocate those chunks of bandwidth appropriately across your prep needs. And understanding that we've been talking about this food thing for a long time, and we're just kind of in a limbo place right now. We're gonna cruise out. That prices will probably start going up because those 2021 stocks of grain will become pretty much non-existent here pretty soon. So who knows? I mean, it could get crazy.
it was kind of interesting when we had Dave on the show last week. He said that he just got back from Doofer doing a
Yeah.
report on a processing plant that burnt down up there. And it's like, oh my gosh. And so it's like, what has it been like 24 and throughout the pretty much the North Continent. But it's like, we won't feel the effects of those guys for a couple of months. But and I guess it bothers me that so many people just don't realize there's a fire there until they touch it and get burned. It's one of those that's like, we're trying to like, we want our purpose on this show is to make sure everybody's comfortable and prepared, and we're going to be inconvenienced no matter what,
Yep.
even if you're a prepper. But for goodness sakes, um, if there's some things you really got to have, especially like if you got a baby around, do you have enough diapers? Build them up if you based on their age. Do you have enough baby formulas and stuff? Are you building up on that a little bit? Do you have an alternative? Is there something you can do or make that would make up for Similac and
There you
things
go.
like that? Those are the things we want you to think about now that you can do now while you can get milk, why you can get whole milk, why you can do all this instead of waiting till you can't get it and then you're in trouble. And there's a lot of fear and concern out there, and a lot of it's in our heads. But I'm telling you, you won't have that fear or concerns or worry when you've done a little prepping. It gives you a peace of mind. You will sleep a little better. You'll know that you won't go hungry. You may not be able to have all the food you like. You may not have some of these spices you want, or maybe you can't make Mexican food anymore because you can't get jalapenos or something, but you still can fill your belly. And so can anybody that watches this show comprehend the fact, like our grandparents, when they went through a depression, pretty things got really hard to get, and pretty soon one of the few things that everybody could get and it was affordable was potatoes. Well,
Yep.
and then you'll learn, okay, there's about 500 ways to prepare potatoes, and believe me, you will learn. But can you handle the fact that maybe we can only get a few different produce items like potatoes and maybe carrots and maybe a few things, and maybe we can't get apples anymore, or maybe we can't get things. Can you even comprehend not be able to get some of the things you eat today? And that just really worries me. If it doesn't happen, great. No problem.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's a couple different levels you could go to this, and I talk about preps and stocking up and everything else. And I mean, I got some health issues and that affect the way I eat and what I eat and everything else like that. And so, protein drinks of some kind, shakes or whatever you want to call them, little 8 ounce or things you buy them. We were buying them at the store there and everything, and then I don't know. The wife Diane brought some home the other day, and she says these things are too damn expensive. We're not going to buy them anymore, and
Yep.
everything. And so what she's done is she's got protein powders and flavorings and all this other stuff, and she's been this alchemist out here in the kitchen getting these protein shakes, for me and everything. She has them too, and everything. And we looked at this thing, and the accounting nerd in me wants to go break this thing down to see what it costs and per unit and everything else like that. But I've gotten over that crazy stuff. And I just know it's going to cost me less money because I was too damn lazy myself to make this stuff like she's doing and
Yeah.
everything else. We were just going for that convenience grab, at the store. And so we looked at that.
We all
So
do that.
yeah, we've been doing some of that stuff, and I can see where it's helped out a little bit. It's brought some dollars down a little bit that we were spending more on. And I'm not budgeting or recording this. I'm just looking at grocery receipts and everything else like that. And kind of like you, we're just kind of in a top off mode on all this stuff right now. And then along this comes and we go, wow, we can achieve a little cost savings here, maybe some what we would call food independence, I guess, that we're not dependent upon a specific supplier or something to supply us something that's packaged in plastic, has one hell of a carbon footprint and everything else. In our nursery operation, greenhouse operation this year, we chose to use peat pots rather than plastic pots. Cost was a factor. Peat is about half the price of plastic. But plastic is a horrible, horrible thing sometimes. And when you put plants in it, I think my plants are going to do better in everything. And it's just, we kind of pay it forward there just a little bit.
Yeah.
And lower our cost. I mean, so that's what we look at inside all this stuff is, what can we do differently? And when you think, oh, I'm prepped and I'm great. No, you've been spending too much money on convenient stuff. You need to break this stuff down and do a little bit, more in everything else, because it's crazy because the computer behind you, the headline says certain individual that's initials are POTUS of the country, is going to send $33 billion to another country. So
That guy loves to
that that
spend money. Have
that
you ever heard the word trillion as much as we've heard in the last
well,
year and a half?
yeah, as in 1.7 trillion of debt that they're going to forgive, which is going to be quite frankly, a shitstorm that you've never seen the end of or the likes of when that happens. I mean, back in my day, we actually had to go to college, go into the building, attend class, pay them money and everything else like that. Paid every dime back. I never borrowed any. I just paid it all as I went, for college. My wife and I both, and everything. And so, people probably say, "Oh, there goes Dale. He's off on another rabbit hole here or something." But I'm just, I'm throwing this out there because this is the insanity that's going on in our world. And this country doesn't have $33 billion to give away. I mean, they'll print it up and everything else, and the results. And so is this problem going to cure itself anytime soon? No, it's not. This is our
No.
life for the next 10 years, people. 10 years at least. Half a generation, basically, is what it is. Takes that long to get screwed up. You've got to hit rock bottom before you can start, rebuilding or something like that. We're not there yet. It's
Yeah, I think came out in a video I did today is about inflation and how to beat it. It's like Sherry and I, we actually aren't like going, oh, okay, let's just do this and this to save money because things are going up. So Sherry and I are like,
yeah,
what can we like? Luckily, we had to change our phones out. We actually got our phone bill down by $30 a month. Great, that's $30. It makes it easier to go to the grocery store. And so I was like, okay, I take my truck too often. So I've been switching over to our RAV4.
yeah,
Sherry moved over from the RAV4 to the RX3. Um, is it RX3? RX3, Mazda 3. It gets better gas mileage than the RAV4. So we've been needing all these little subtle things.
yeah,
And we quit doing as many Friday night eating out things. Um, for example, we used to almost Friday night, we'd kind of call it date night. We'd go down the hill where we live here, go get a burger or something like that and have a beer. And we kind of knocked that off, but we still might do something on a Saturday, but when we're running errands, but we're cutting out just a few extra eating out situations. We're cutting out watching how we're using our fuel. We're watching out, like when you live out in the country like us, it's like, all right, if you got errands to run, can
yeah,
you can you bring other more than one errand together so when you go to town you're only going once and just little things like that to and it helps a lot because our grocery bill is higher, our gas bill is higher, and so
mhm,
when you're cutting your expenses, maybe get rid of your Netflix, maybe see if your cell phone bill can be reduced. Anything you can do to knock down that monthly stuff you're doing um, can take the pain away. And it's going to get more painful and more painful. So, what can you do today to be prepared for tomorrow? And don't wait till it's already come. And so, can you get rid of a subscription? Can you pay off a bill? Can you quit using your credit card? Can you stop driving so much? Can you consolidate your trips to the store? Can you uh, buy a little bit more food to cook at home? Um, Knock off a couple of restaurants, things like that. And you'd be amazed if you, and especially you people, if you're using Microsoft Money or QuickBooks, whatever, for your keeping records and stuff, if you just use the report section and
yeah,
hopefully you categorize the things that you spend money on, you will literally can make a graph to see how much money you're cutting out by making just some subtle changes that really aren't that painful. And that's the message I really want on this show. Not to mention is getting back to like we the people kind of thing. I also want to mention is uh, that's been conservative needs to wake up. You need to start speaking out. You need starting getting involved. You need to vote, and you need to make sure our leaders at all levels know what our concerns are. And it's not uh, all these crazy things they're bringing into school. They're not bringing all these
yeah,
crazy regulations for business in certain cities and all this stuff. That's not concerning us. So we've got to get in their faces and say, uh, cost is one of our worries. Inflation is one of our worries. Our school districts, our children, the fuel around here. That's it. Get in their face and say, this is what's bugging us. We can't, as conservatives, if you are a conservative, we've always been so polite. We always sit back. We're always kind of like, and we're not a squeaky wheel like the liberals have been. And so look what's happened. So we need to be that squeaky wheel now, and we need to get involved in our councils. We need to get involved in our city stuff, and we need to make them, not maybe think. We need to make them, and that's what this podcast is all right. We need to make all of our leaderships in all levels ask the question, what's our concerns? And start addressing them and quit going after BS stuff. Sorry if it, like here, they got this rodeo thing they keep bringing up. It's like, yeah, but does that pay for our roads? Is that taking care of our safety on the ranch? Is it taking care of our fire department? Are we supporting them with all the things they want? Who gives a crap about a rodeo if it's not affecting the citizens on our ranch? And so I feel that way about cities when they start getting involved in crap that doesn't matter. But they don't. They need to listen to us and let us have a voice. And if they're not going to give us a voice, we make them hear us, that we want them to serve us with the problems we have today. So, all right, I'm done.
Well, I think, well, it's an interesting rant too, and it bears a lot of relevancy to what's been going on. My screen's completely froze up, so I'm assuming I'm still good.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, I'll just keep rolling. And you talk about that local level type of thing, and I mean, it's kind of, you try to engage with these politicians and these regulatory individuals and everything else on a business-like professional manner, and they don't want to communicate with you because they don't have any answers for the questions you're going to answer, or they're going to feed you a line of bullshit that you don't want to listen to and that you've heard already anyway. And so their thing is, then your only alternative then is to take it to social media. Unfortunately, I mean, you got to do what you got to do and everything. And so that's kind of what, it is, because I mean, I just couldn't sit down there and try to go back and forth with these local and these are politicians that are HOA. That's what these guys are. They're government. And I just can't go back and forth with it. I mean, they're disrespectful. They seem to have some kind of, political elitism about them or something. And, you people are the same as me. Put your pants on the same way and everything else like that. So don't pull this crap. I'm asking you some questions, I want your answers and your opinions. And I've been ignored. I've been ignored by a congressman, here. I've been ignored by our state representative and everything else. Your street cred's not building real good with me here when you ignore me like that, because if you do that a couple of times, then I'm just going to tell everybody I know that you ignored me and you're not representing my interest. And I'm not going to vote for you next time. We'll find somebody else out that will. So the first person, these politicians, that actually develops a good two-way communication process, and there are a few out there. And I'll just say right now, Mark Thielman, he's one of our candidates for governor. I can get him on Twitter. I can get him by text, anything like that. The guy's real personable and approachable. That's what I want to look at, in a representative that I'm considering. I'll hold him to that if he gets elected or if he doesn't, whatever. But I'm going to respect the fact that I can communicate with him and at least give my opinion. And these others that don't even want to do that, they say, "Oh, I'll just ignore that crazy old man up there. He'll go away after a while," or something like that. So yeah, we're not communicating real well with politicians at all levels. And so, unless both parties have a desire to sit down and effectively communicate, it's going to be this constant back and forth, he said, she said type of a situation. And then if you're talking with politicians above the local level, you get up into the state and the congressional level, then we have to talk about the massive amounts of money that these people are somehow coming into possession of. I don't understand how politicians that start basically as private citizens, and even on a politician's salary, and over the course of 15 years, they amass a net worth of $60 million on on a couple $100,000 a year salary. How does that work? I want to know that. And that's fantastic. And if all you got to do is get up in front of people and, and blow smoke up their hind end and everything else, and then not do what you say you're going to do, and you get to roll away with that kind of money, then you kind of get the motivation for the thing and everything else. And I'm kind of at the point I'm after my own right now. I'm going to cover my own on this thing. I expect politicians to communicate with me, and you better.
Yeah. And by the way, I will address, so Jack has been trying to suggest to us this, if you're in a city or bigger cities, unlike us, we're kind of country stuff. He's bringing up, and we kind of didn't follow it too far, but he was suggesting to go, if you guys are looking for supplies and stuff, to go check out wholesale restaurant supply stores, which
Yep.
in our area, we really don't have stuff like that. So we tend to
Yeah.
kind of like, what? But if you lived in Phoenix or you lived in California, and stuff like that, that's a great suggestion. We do appreciate that. And yes, Dale is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? And it's, if we have those restaurant supply stores, that'd be a great thing. But like you said, we don't even have them in Bend. Do you know how many trucks Cisco sends a day over here from their Wilsonville distribution center?
Yeah, everything's
Four,
Portland.
4 to 7 trucks a day, semis, 50-footers with 34s behind them, 4 of them every day. They come over, the guys took them back over, they'll come back over tonight, they'll leave them there, and they'll start distributing the food around to the various restaurants and everything else that buy that food. So that's, we're just a little bit more isolated on things like that.
Well, apparently you and I don't get out much because Jack says there's one in Bend. It's like, all right, I'll go check it out.
Well, like I said,
We
I
gotta
pretty much
avoid Bend.
I made my position clear on Ben there and everything else, Michael. There's nothing that I have to go to that town for other than medical stuff, and
I go,
I
go
can
there.
I can go around Ben easily on all kinds of roads. So
Yeah, I go there for 2 reasons: Costco and Harbor Freight.
yeah.
That's about it.
Well, I guess that's a good thing because I'd spend too much money at either place if I went there. So.
Oh man, that Harbor Freight's dangerous.
Yeah.
So cool. Thank you very much, Jack. We appreciate that. And there was a question I was going to ask you, and I forgot. But the big thing I wanted to kind of get out of here is, guys. Well, no, actually, what I was going to mention is, do you see what we're doing today? You see Dale? Do you see myself and the guests we have on the show? So these people are ones that are pretty much on the conservative side. That would, and you don't have to be conservative to be on this show, by the way, because conservatives can handle debate.
Sure, absolutely.
So
respectful debate too.
Yeah, for sure. And so the point I want to make is, this is our way, one way of reaching out and trying to get our opinion out there, because we've been sitting on the sidelines way too long, and we've been walked on. So here we are, right here.
Yeah.
We're doing what we can. No, we don't have millions watching our show, but in our small area, we'll cover a pretty good region. We get a lot of feedback. Our show goes well beyond just what you see here. This is the podcast version and stuff. So we do pretty good at reaching out in our local area. And it's Dale's and my way of voicing our concerns. We're not ranting and we're not bitching. We're trying to get our concerns out to people who might stumble upon this going, oh, I never thought about, maybe the people on a ranch need better transportation for medical support for older people. How would they know if we didn't tell them? Or maybe I don't really care if my road's paved or not, as long as it's maintained well with gravel. I'm good with it. So don't spend the money on putting pavement on it. There's all these little things. If you listen to me, you'll hear my concerns. And also you might even find out there's ways to save money on an HOA area like ours. And so I'm trying to point out is, if any of you are concerned you're not being heard, one is, you got the show. You can talk to us anytime and you can be on our show, unless you're crazy. Well, Dale's crazy.
Okay.
So yeah, everybody can
See you later. See you later.
I'm kind of crazy too.
You got it for the rest of the show.
The point is, guys, you guys step up. Dale's stepping up, so am I. So is Dave last week, and other people that come on our show. They're stepping up and getting in front of people's faces one way or another. All it takes is one politician or something to catch our show, and maybe to go, oh, I didn't really think about the people's problems. I just wanted to take care of my agenda. So who knows? We might touch one person who will start making better leadership decisions for us in our community. And that's what I'm urging you guys to do. I'm hoping that when you see a show like this, you're looking at a couple of one high-tech redneck and just a redneck.
Yeah, there you go.
He's pretty high-tech, guys. Actually, you'd be surprised what Dale's been up to.
I can hold my own.
Yeah, he does. And anyway, we're just showing you taking action. We're showing you that it can be done at any age. If you wanted to create a podcast and stuff, we would help you. If you got concerns other than what we talk about in this show, you can do what we're doing and utilize some of these tools and social medias that you probably been dreading. Maybe you ought to learn how to use Twitter a little bit and understand what's going on with Elon Musk. Some of us have got to dive in there whether we hate it or not. And it's like, all right, fight fire with fire. Here we are. And so, guys, I hope I'm trying to motivate people who are thinking about, how can I have a voice when here's two people that have a voice and we get a chance to talk to the public every week. So do it, guys. No excuse.
Well, I think one of the good things too, you got going on, you mentioned that we've mentioned that interaction with some of these, regulatory government people, whatever, on our HOA here, we have a director on our board and everything, and there's 9 of them, and he says the First Amendment does not apply to an HOA, and that the HOA is not a government. Okay, now let's just forget the context and the content of what he just said for a moment. The fact is, you disqualified yourself from any kind of reasonable discourse with me by that First Amendment statement. And of course they tried to school me in how I gave up my constitutional rights and everything else about that when I moved to the HOA. My point is here, people, if these are the people that you have to deal with, you have a problem, and these people need to go away. Type of thing. And until you do, that's going to be difficult. I could probably not develop a civil discussion with that person at this point in time, because if that's their opinion, we don't have enough common ground to even start discussing, anything here. And so then that forces you to move into another kind of an action of where you need to maybe get some people together, organize, and replace these people with people that can do the job, because that's how we used to do it in the corporate world. That worked quite effectively for me for a good 35 years.
Yeah, and if anybody from the association or our HOA in our area and stuff, I'll warn you right now, there's a video coming out next week that you will probably want to eliminate me. And that's okay, because I'm using the tools readily available to me to bring up freedom and liberty, basically on a ranch, in the city, in the next door city, whatever. And so I have tools that I can use, and I'll continue using them. I'm not going to be silenced anymore, and I'm not going to be politely sitting on the sidelines. And so I'm still civil, and I'm still going to be very professional, and all works. But me and Dale are not going away. And so if anything, we're going to get bigger and bigger. And so if you guys can, people like them are going to work around us trying to think that they can do stuff without communicating to the public. Ain't going to happen. We are on your ass. Here we are. And so, and we'll be professional, and we'll be polite.
Absolutely.
And we'll bring up the issues. We'll let everybody talk to us, and you can't avoid us. You can slip around us, all this kind of stuff, but here we are.
and well, and this is in general, and I mean, no matter about this situation, we'll find out. I mean, I've got spies everywhere for everything. It's just, it's just a lot of contacts and friends and everything. And so you have to understand, people out there, that Ranger Rob and I are pretty good at this prepper homestead thing. We're adequately prepared, but we're nothing. There are some people that are a lot more hardcore than we are, and those are the ones you can find. And there's ones that you'll never find that are in this a lot harder and deeper than we are. I know
Yep.
some of them, I couldn't do it at that level and everything, but I mean, I, I I have conversations with these people because they're good people to know, and we could possibly have, mutually beneficial type of situations in the future, and that could, take any number of facets. But we're this kind of a silent majority that at my age, I
Not
don't
anymore.
really care if somebody doesn't like what I say. I'm going to say it respectfully and dignitely. If you want to
Yeah.
differ with me, fine. But if you want to, call me names and everything else, you picked the wrong dude because I can saw you off at the legs on. I just won't listen to you, type of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can't be passive anymore. We've got to push the issues.
And right here we have created a platform for anybody in Central Oregon to voice their stuff, and we can get this in front of them. And
Yeah,
whether it's locally where we're at here, or whether in Redmond or Terrebonne or whatever, Central Oregon, um, there's going to be more and more platforms like this, podcasts, media that's going to expose the BS. And we're not out to hurt anybody. We're out to just
no,
get our laws and our rules and ordinances uh, either fixed or we follow them correctly. It's really, we believe in law enforcement, we believe in rules, but we also, it's not rules for just one set of people, it's
no,
rules for we the people, and that's really what we're all about. And I hope I send this point out is here we are, we're just one more platform that's fighting back. And so and we'll do it in fun too. And also we care about people, we really care about our neighbors, that they're eating, that they're healthy, that they, if they're aging, they have transportation, their medicals are being checked out, people are checking on them. Really, we all care a lot. And there's people out there who don't care and are gonna,
no.
or and we'll ignore you. Totally
Yeah,
ignore
I
you.
mean, yeah, that's just the way it is. I mean, that's I got a pretty good idea who's good and who's not. I mean, like Santa
Yeah.
Claus, you got a naughty and nice list. I don't keep lists or anything else like that. I just remember it in
Hey,
my
Jace.
my brain, and so if somebody doesn't like what I say, they can say something to me. I probably won't remember your name anyway, so it doesn't matter to me one way or another. I had a business consultant I worked with at one time in order to put some stuff in context with me in time management and everything else. He says, at any point during your workday, he says, ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now going to result in an increase in my checking account? Okay, that's got a business overtone and
Yeah.
everything, but go ahead and just substitute anything you want to in there and say, well, at whatever you're doing at that particular time, is this going to help my personal prepping situation, my personal security situation, my personal liberty situation? So there's got to be some aspect of this thing speaking up, for liberty and everything else. That has to be part of your preps and everything else. I mean, you don't have to be out here like we are because believe me, there's hundreds of other people out here you'll never see that are doing this kind of stuff. You have no
Yeah.
idea of the depths that this goes to in our society,
So
and it's
I
only
got
going
to
to get
shout
better.
out, but really quick, I got to shout out Jace. Jace has been on a lot of our shows and stuff. I always laugh at him because I call him my young city slicker.
Oh, geez.
He's in Florida. He's into gaming. He's doing all these things, high tech, as far as working with media companies, and he does. And he actually talked me into going, and he has me on TikTok. He actually
Oh God.
contacted me. He says, "Rob, you idiot, you should be on TikTok." And I'm going, really? And I've enjoyed it. I don't do a whole lot, but I think it's been effective in a small scale for me. And so that's once again I'm trying to say is, guys, if you're going to play this game, you got to learn how to play with all the tools. And there's young people like Jace that will take the time to teach us old farts, new things, and new tricks. And so I'm in, all in. And so Jace has always been highly respected by me, and yet he's what, two generations difference between him and I, and we respect each other a lot. And um and for a guy that lives in Florida,
Well, I mean, you talk about that. I mean, you brought that thing up. He's in the media and this kind of stuff and everything else. And both you and I have done our stints in media. And if I'm driving down the road and I have the radio on, I'm like, God, that's a horrible commercial. Who did that? You know, and I mean, who wrote the copy for that? I mean, did you honestly think that? And then who did the voices and everything else? And then I look at other ways that we used to market businesses and do things in the past. And I mean, it's changed so much in the last 5 years. And I just basically kind of tuned out of that whole thing
Yeah.
for the last couple of years, you know. And
Jace, by the way, has made commercials for me for the RangerRob poopy bags, and
oh
he
yeah,
ruined a really he really ruined a good song for me, and I'll never forgive him.
well, you know,
You
as
know
long
that
as you
song?
do that,
Do you know the
I
song? Do you know the song "Taking Care of Business"?
oh yeah, yeah,
I
BTO,
mean, we grew up with that song, right? Well,
Randy Bockley,
he
Burton
applied
Cummings.
that he applied that to poopy bags, and so he
Okay.
made a commercial using that song. And so now, anytime I hear "taking care of business," all I can think is dog poop.
Well, okay, there you go. Score one for him in marketing. You
He
did
did a
an
good job.
imprinted impression there, and it's hung in there, and that's exactly what they want to do. And I look at what's going on here. Fortunately, having some background in media, I know when I'm being bullshitted and when I'm not, and everything. And you look at this thing, and so that's kind of since we've been doing these podcasts, I've been threatening to start this other brand and everything, and I keep thinking that I'm going to do it and everything, and it
Yes,
just
all talk, all talk.
well, it is right now. Yeah, I'm just full of it. I haven't done a thing. My excuse there is, well, I'm just building content and everything. I think, well, I'll sit down in here this winter and do something. And I mean, to do the things that you do, the daily videos and everything else. I mean, I'll hand it to you. That takes organization and it's a skill. And it's not something I probably possess. Mine's going to be a little bit more, muted than that and everything else. But then it's kind of here. I'm kind of like, if I can start a podcast, I can get my word out, I can help some people, mainly from like the horticultural side or wherever you want to go. I don't care. I've done corporate turnarounds and ran businesses. I can help anybody figure something out and everything. And it's like people are saying, oh, you're just an old boomer and everything else like that. And
Yep.
I go, well, yeah, I am and everything. And,
We're high tech rednecks. You'd love it.
Absolutely, on this, and I mean, I'm on this computer because I'm too damn lazy to set the other camera and everything up tonight. So I just ran this thing on there because I'd like to set it up a different way, but I got to get that mix board. But I got this greenhouse full of plants right now, and a greenhouse full of plants is like, having babies or something this time of the year
Yeah.
and all this. But the point is that I do need to speak out a little bit more because I just think nobody wants to hear that old man. He just ranting and everything else. But then I don't know. You mentioned Twitter, with Elon Musk buying that thing. That's pretty effective communications platform.
It is.
I've got about 500 followers, and I'm probably following about as many people and everything else. And so it's made I knew how all the algorithms and how to get around all that stuff. Most everybody else does too, and everything. But it was the major messages that were being censored and everything. And so I haven't really seen a lot of change yet, but the freer exchange of ideas amongst people seems to be happening, and that's always a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah. And if we have to learn how to use it, so be it.
Yeah, you got a
Well,
minute
I'm
left.
going to remind us early that we're almost done here, and because you and I are so famous at going over that 1 minute mark
Yeah.
or 1 hour mark. But first of all, Dale, it's always an honor to have you on the show,
Well,
and
thank you for
I
having me.
love your
Appreciate it.
intellectual qualities. I'm really out there. Sometimes I'm a visionary, so having Dale on the show kind of brings us the analytics that we need for the show and facts and figures, and I yeah, even though I don't do that as much, he needs to know how much I appreciate it. That's why we match up well because, I'm that guy that sees the vision, but you're the one that
Well,
explains what,
you're the visionary, and I'm the guy that wants to send in the troops and just kick the hell out of everybody.
Yep. And so it's been such an honor to have you as a partner.
Well,
But we
thank you.
do need to
Appreciate that.
scoot. We do need to scoot. So, guys, I want to thank you all for watching, and those who will come on later after it's over. Please leave comments and say hi
Yes,
and talk
thank
about
you.
things and tell us what we'd like to talk about. Oh, tell us what you would like us to talk about, and we'll just see what we can do. So,
Yep.
Dale, thank you very much for being on the
Thank
show,
you.
and those who are watching, thank you for watching us. So, we'll talk to you all later. Bye. Thank you very much for watching our video. Please take the time to like, subscribe, and share our videos all over the whole wide world. Thanks.